My dear YouTube community, I'm back for just a couple of things. I want to talk about becoming a stronger person despite of a narcissistic mom, and why it is not easier if this person would be dead already. Not necessarily, and I will tell you why. And as a third point, don't be stopped just because of a narcissistic mom. Let's talk about those dynamics. My name is Christina Junger. I'm a love and leadership coach, and I'm loving to have you here with your subscribed button pushed to get the latest videos from me. Hello and good evening. Why would it not be easier? Necessarily not be easier. If for all the dynamics, if you have grown with a narcissistic mom, if you have lived all the at least psychological abuse, if you were treated being minimized, being around a grandiose person, being around a person who was just trying to victimize you day in, day out, just trying to really push you down, to always have her at one or the other level under you, or, you know, at some points, like getting you up and giving you the ups and downs, and at other points, letting you down again. To become a stronger person, we need to pass through hardship. It's not going to work without it. It's not really like good news, you know, and I know it's sometimes not much consoling to people, but also in different contexts of trauma and of really damaging experiences people have lived through, it has become very clear that when people come out of it in a good way, and this option will always be there for you, will always be there for you. People become much stronger people, a much stronger person, and that it causes much resilience in people. And oftentimes you might not be able to see all the resilience, like all your capacity to deal with adversity, to deal with hardship, to deal with the challenges of life, that you have become much proven in those dynamics, and that you do have tremendous skills, life skills, and relationship skills, and skills to deal in, you know, with communities or with vulnerable people, and that you can probably in the end find good reasons, especially if you strengthen those points, why this situation, let's call it a situation, come on, let's call it a situation where you had to grow up with a person who was not promoting you, who was not showing you your beautiful sides, who was not telling you, you know, that you can do everything in life to grow and to have fame and fortune, you know. Despite of that, you have developed so much sensitivity and so many coping skills to be able to deal with this entire situation. Let's call it a situation, yeah? Let's not do as if this was something which we weren't able to change anymore. And to recognize those traits you have developed, your sensitivity and your ability to read people, and your ability to feel with other people, your ability to get out of dangerous situations, and whatever skills and traits and talents you have inside of yourself because of this, the way you grew up, because of what you learned from the way you had to relate and what you had to develop in skills, but also besides of the skills and what was promoted inside of you to survive your situation, because of the way your mother was relating with you, you have also been equipped with personal traits, with personal talents, which are just a sort of genetical or a sort of given to your personality, to your character, to you as an individual, like gifts from God, and sometimes it's more a question of finding them in all this pain and in all this like big old bunch of waste which was put on top of you. Let's put it like this. This is a very, very central message, and we find it in all kinds of situations where people have lived through traumatic situations, and where people had to get out of adversity, that they developed survival skills, and we call them survivors, okay, which have great value at the point when they were able to overcome this inner pain and to be reactive to it, or be reactive to smaller triggers which remind them on their pain, and they could develop things they haven't discovered inside of themselves. And this is just a really, 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 really beautiful thing you should be focusing on, that you were able to develop skill sets, sensitivities, if you have developed them or not developed them, but they are there, they are sleeping in you, and to focus on them, to no longer, if you, I said it before in videos, if you focus on the problem, you will have more of the problem. You need to start focusing on your positive traits, on your positive attributes, on your capacity to overcome, on your talents, on whatever it is, what you bring with or what you have learned coming out of this relationship, or many times paired with other abusive relationships, which might not have only been inside your childhood relationships, but following up on relationships where you might choose a person where you feel simply, let's call it, at home with. Where you feel, I always call this like we're sitting like here on this sofa together, and we have like this same kind of feeling for our boundaries of closeness and distance, which is just born on a way how we were able to open up emotionally, and how we are used to being communicated or being silenced, or being ignored or being abandoned. So we many times we choose just really what feels like nest to us, which is what we grew up in. It's a really normal process for every human being. And to find inside of these relationships now skills to okay, let's put it like this. If you have understood the damage this relationship has caused in you, maybe it was paired with other relationships, but when you understand that, once you point out, or once you have figured out what was the damage done, what was the impairment which this situation caused you, then you understand also that when you're focused on growth, when you're focused of no longer focusing on the problem, but on the solution, that you are, every human being, that you are absolutely capable of really like achieving high levels of functionality or of expertise inside of the field where you are, let's say, called to be. Where you feel good, where you feel this is all yours, where you feel you have something to say, to give, to contribute. All right? And you need to find those niches where you can find this something which is all yours. I wanted to talk about it would have been easier if this person would be dead. Whew. The damage is inside of you. I understand that when we focus on this person being still there and constituting a danger for us, being a threat to us still, because it can pop up anytime, that it might feel that it would be easier if this person wouldn't be around anymore, so you wouldn't have to deal with the conflict, etc. But let's put it how it is. Wherever we go, we take ourselves. So the probability that you, despite of this person no longer being in your life, be it because you were able to do no contact, or this person would have passed away, you might not be healthier because of that afterwards. Let's put it how it is. Because what's inside of you and what you didn't want to look at so far, or couldn't because it's so hurtful, and it's so unclear, there's so much confusion for you around. These parts stay with you. The way you have learned to relate in relationships is not suddenly gone because this person is gone. You have a history and you have, let's say, a record, how you know to deal, and your nervous system uses those paths, and your feelings will use these paths, in feeling, in interpreting later situations, in choosing this kind of person which has the same feel of distance and closeness which I am so familiar with. All right, you're just the same person, if the other person is gone or not. I understand that it helps you with your personal feeling of security, maybe a personal feeling of that something justified would happen, or that it would be just, that this person would go and wouldn't cause no longer damage. But there's just a small thinking error inside of all this. It might feel consoling to think, this person is gone, it's no longer in my life, and it's no longer interfere with my plans and with my head. This person can no longer mess with my head, what these people usually do until they're gone. So I understand this part. I understand when people say it would be easier, to know this person could no longer interfere with me. But the goal is that you want to get to a point where, being there or not there, you're strong, you're clear on your boundaries, you're clear of loving now yourself, you're clear that you don't allow any longer to be messed with in your head. Of course you need to know this, and you need to understand the dynamics, and to identify them the moment they come up. Of course you need to learn to assertive communication. Of course you need to learn to listen inside of you, and then reacting to believe yourself, to take yourself serious, and to be there for you, and to be able to have these inner boundaries which will not allow other similar people, which they sniff you like a dog, to do the same thing over again with you, right? So for me, okay, I respect the ways you go. I respect how you see things are for you. And it might feel better and safer for you to know this person is no longer around. I totally get this. I totally respect this. But for me, as a coach, I think for my life, we should go and find every day better ways everyday growth in how I can deal with the outside world more sovereignly, and to also be able to deal with my inner world in a more sovereign way. This is for me a goal. This is something I am working towards. Always and always and always to, let's say, to live up, to level up, and to understand life and their dynamics more, and to understand myself more, and to understand my being more, my needs, and how I'm going to be able to deal with people and grow in this context, which also means growth for myself, growth maybe financially, maybe professionally, maybe inside of my relationships, maybe in a way of dealing with myself and feeling satisfied with myself, evaluating myself as a person of growth, and not as a person who's being held back by whoever happened to be in my life, which I haven't chosen, which I couldn't deal with, back then, but to learn those skills and to understand that they are not specifically skills which are paired with this narcissistic mother or another narcissistic person, or another abusive person, but to be conscious that those are skills which serve me, in all my life, in the entire range of things I'm doing, to have a bigger freedom, to widen myself, to open myself, and to be there, and to, let's say, absorb without fear, and with always a sense of safety, because I can create it, And I think this is a challenge. This is a big old challenge, and like all of the challenge, like a third point I was talking about now in the introduction was to not be stopped by a narcissistic mom. Wouldn't be that something which you would feel proud of? Although it would be a really difficult way to go. Every way we go where we have to level up, where we have to get on a higher level of consciousness, of awareness, of happiness, and be it in the short moments, isn't it worth the way? Tell me, isn't it something where it doesn't have to be there for me to say, oh, I'm gonna, I'm just gonna let myself be stopped by a narcissistic mom, by this relationship, and like fall like this dog. I think it was Seligman or who did this experiment, putting a dog in the cage, and the cage was closed, so they would fire electric impulses. And this dog, since he couldn't jump off this cage, and since it was closed, he would just fall down because he couldn't escape the situation, he would just let himself fall. And after this experiment, they opened the cage, and the dog didn't jump out anymore. So this is like an example for learned helplessness, and we need to be very careful with this, because we can do this too. That we say, oh, it would be so much better if this person would be out of my life, or to have the feeling that this person stopped me. This is a perspective of helplessness, and you can work against that, okay? Although you don't so immediately see results, although you might not be very quick, very successful, unless you see the small changes and you motivate yourself each time you try and to get better at those skills where you were so impaired with, and because of that, learn them and get into a position of expertise. This is basically what I would love to provide for you today. You you have become a strong person. Explore yourself, discover yourself, be there for yourself, get into this breathing yourself, into this feeling yourself, that you can understand who you are and how strong you've become, not only despite of her, but because of having to live through so much adversity. Then would it be easier if this person would just be out of your life? Yes and no. And no, because you take her with you, or this whatever abusive person. And if I don't learn to put healthy boundaries, if I don't learn out of this adversity, it's gonna be really hard for me to level up and to be really in charge of my own life, because I still leave it up to her. And then to just never be stopped by situations. Well, it was a long situation. Well, it was throughout the time where you really learned to develop your emotional world, your communicative skills, your boundaries, your sense of safety, and all these things. But I promise you, you can still do it. Need some effort? Yes, need some effort. Yes, but you can do it. Just work on it. You know, I'm giving you here so many tools in your hand to be able to incorporate those and to little by little get out of the situations you were stuck in. It should be possible for you after a while of working through, or if you would like, I've been asked, to get into a coaching program with me. Down there, there's a link, so you can book a strategy call with me to see if there's something I can offer for you. And to grow, to maintain a growth mindset. People who have been, what is success in life, but who've come to success, who have advanced in their life, those were unlucky people. They came out of the biggest BS in their lives, and they just pushed themselves through and through and through and through and through, just to be finally able to manage, to persevere, to be on top of the problem, that the problem wouldn't determine them anymore, right? And this needs to be focusing no longer on the problem, but on your goals, on your vision, on yourself. And not so much on yourself. Sometimes be careful, just looking too much inside of us is a way of healing and dealing, everything at its time. But then we need to develop our goals, and we need to make decisions. And to heal is a decision. All right? I love you much, folks. I hope this helped a little bit, and I'll see you soon. Bye.